Good morning, everybody. Welcome out to Board Game Breakfast. My name is Chris Yee.
Hello there. I'm Eric Summerer. Good morning.
Yes, we will be excusing one Wendy Yee from her co-hosting duties today, as she is not feeling well, unfortunately. So she is guarding the pillows at home.
Make sure nobody takes them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It would be a shame. It would be a travesty. It really would be. I've gotten to the point where I realize I like to travel with my own pillow, like when I go to conventions and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it's become worth it for me, and just for my neck and my general almost old man body.
Yeah, I've heard this suggestion. I have not yet adopted it as my own. I save the room in the suitcase for board games. But I understand. I need to try it just to give you that little slice of home when you're away.
Yeah, exactly. Board games. Well, everybody, welcome to a nice new week here at the Dice Tower. We got several big things going on. The first of which is that we have the top 100s, top 100 games of all time. Mike, Tom, Z are going to be going through. There's going to be 6 sections this week, so 1 each day, 2 on Thursday, because Thursday's the top 10 day. So
okay,
why not double down on it? So yeah,
why not?
That's one. Sorry.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? That's the big thing. And then the other thing, of course, is that we have the Game Found going on right now. So if you want to show your support, go to supportdicetower.com, and then you can contribute to us. And speaking of people who have contributed to us in last year's crowdfunding support drive, we got some shout-outs to give out.
We absolutely do. And it was ready before we started, and now it's ready again.
Exactly.
Right. Shout-outs to Kristen from Boston. Zach Darrow.
That's the one that had the exclamation point.
Point at the end. Kip Jacobson.
Absolutely.
T. Wes Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle King.
Ooh, that's royalty.
And Joel and Brienne Fisher, who are excited for the 2025 cruise. Hopefully they remained excited while on board.
Absolutely. We loved having people on the cruise. So if you weren't able to come to the cruise, we also have 2 great events on land. Dice Tower East in Orlando, Florida in July, Dice Tower West in March. And so they are the 2 sponsors of the top 100 games. So you'll hear and you'll learn a lot more about them as we do those. Eric, are there any other official items of business before we continue to conduct this official meeting?
I guess I might as well mention that the next episode of the podcast, which airs tomorrow morning at the table with the Dice Tower, we're going to be talking about table talk and all of the potential pitfalls in that subject. So yeah, tune in to hear me, Tom, and Julie talk about table talk.
All right, well, that sounds awesome. Folks, this episode of Board Game Breakfast is sponsored by Grip Mats, who is our fantastic sponsor. They have sent in mats that we have in the Dice Tower library. So if you come to Dice Tower East, or you can actually play with some of these mats and everything. So here to talk a little bit more about that is me. This show is sponsored by Grip Mat. These custom playmats come in regular texture or with their custom grip surface, so cards, tiles, chits, and miniatures won't slide around during your games. Make setup a breeze, upgrade your play experience, or just beautify your table with a Grip Mat. Check out their Etsy store to see their huge selection of custom playmats for many of the best games on the market.
Hi, it's Tarrant.
And Stella from Maple University. We have here video game champion, where you are 9-year-old kids trying to collect and play the games, break the codes, and do some chores to earn points. Money, I should say.
Yes, this is it's not quite a worker placement game, but it's essentially an action draft in the same way. You'll be taking a tile instead of placing a worker, and you'll be using that to, as you say, build up your skills in playing video games, to get some money by doing chores or begging grandma for money, and going to the video rental store to then play the games. And you have to cash in combinations of tiles to play the games, and you're trying to do certain sets of games and achievements first for points. You get points for beating the games, and there's a few other types of objectives and scoring sets that you're trying to make.
Basically, the whole world is your video games. I mean, remember when I was that young, that's probably is the most important thing in my world right then. I would do chores, I would do shopping for my parents, or just clean the house to get money so I can either rent or buy, which is what is reflected here. Very fun.
Yep. I think one of the things I'm seeing with a lot of games, and you see it with Rock Hard 1977, which came out earlier this year as well, is the general worker placement game, because this is a fairly typical action draft worker placement type of game. You're getting a lot of those games that are now leaning very heavily into fun themes. And that's kind of, because it's a mechanism that's been around for so long, I think that's what really gets this sort of game to the table. And Video Game Champion is certainly like that. It really gets you back into that world.
And that is it. Thanks for watching.
All right, we've reached the point in the program where we talk about something that has caught our eye. We call it eye catchers. This is something that we ran into across the internet, and I'm going to go first. This is not a new video, but the algorithm sometimes shows you things that you didn't know existed before, and this popped up in my feed. It is from a contributor, a producer called Stand Up Maths. He's in the UK. And this specifically talks about the mathematics of a game we know as Spot It, but in the UK is Dobble. For us, it looks like this. It's produced by Blue Orange Games. It is a game about finding symbols. You've got a pair of cards, and there's a bunch of different variations on what you're doing, but you're always trying to find a match. Every card has one matching symbol with every other card in the deck. So in this case, it's the little water droplet, and you are doing various games to spot what those things are. What this gentleman did is explain how the math of that works. There are 55 cards in a Spot It deck, and he talks about how they laid out the symbols so that, and there's this incredible, I sent Chris a screenshot, I'm not sure if you have it ready, Chris, but it's like a grid. He laid them out in a grid so that there was like one set of matching symbols along each horizontal axis, and each vertical axis all had a matching symbol. And Chris isn't finding the screenshot, but that's fine, because you can just imagine how amazing this is. Here we go. Here we are in the point in the video where he is showing the various lines where, like, you can take any little weird diagonal and there is a matching symbol amongst those. And this is how they distributed all of the different symbols. And he came up with 57 combinations of these cards. But this deck is 55 cards. So there's actually 2 cards that could exist in a Spot It deck that don't exist in a Spot It deck, which is fascinating. So he had to, for this video, actually create a couple of cards just to make the pattern work. The amount of work and dedication, when he laid this whole thing out, it all works. It's just incredible. How this all comes together. Check out the video and just be fascinated by what seems to be a very simple game, but the math of it is really, really cool in Spot It.
Huh. That's one of those things that I have looked at and thought, nah, I'm not smart enough. Like, I'm just out and out. There's certain games, like Spot It is one of them, Turing Machine.
Oh, yeah.
Some of those things that I'm just like, no, I literally cannot go through the math process of how this works, but I'm intrigued by it. So, very cool, man.
Neat
Something
video.
I am smart enough to figure out, though. So I have been playing a video game recently, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is the... so Final Fantasy VII got remade for the PS4 originally.
Yep.
And then it took so long for them to come out with the second part of the trilogy, they had to put on a new video game system, which bugged me to no end.
Sure.
Anyway, but I did eventually get it, and so I've been playing it, and there's a mini game in there, as kind of is the tradition with a lot of these Final Fantasy games. They'll have like a little collectible quasi mini game, like, card game type thing in there. And so the one in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is called Queen's Blood. Is this something you know much about, Eric?
I know the game exists, but I have not played it or had any direct interaction with it. So I'm curious to hear more.
I enjoy this enough that I was like, well, I'm going to derail my entire open world adventure trying to save the world thing because I got to go get more cards. So this is a mix between a lane battler and an area control game. And so You battle for lanes, and so you see these cards here have different numbers in the top right index. So this bird guy is worth 2 control. Wolf Pants over here is worth 2 control. Shinra Soldier Man is worth 1, right? And at the end of the round, you're going to compare who has more strength in that row, and you'll score that many points. And you only score the rows that you have the majority in. But it's also a bit of an area control game because you see these little pawn symbols out there. What happens is, as you play these cards out, so Leprechaun over here, which is not Leprechaun, wherever you place him, he's going to give you a pawn on the board to the right and and below wherever you place him out. But he requires that there be at least 1 pawn in the space you play him into.
Oh boy.
So if you were to play that guy over into, say, this space here, he would provide you a pawn to the right and below it. And that would mean that this space here would have 2 pawns on it so that you could play some of these more powerful characters onto it. So you were
Attack
trying...
squirrel.
Yeah, absolutely, like the super powerful squirrel guy. Moo and more. So a lot of the games really come down to, can you kind of... and so like if your opponent has, say, 1 control of a space, they have 1 red pawn. They might even have like 3 red pawns on there. If you place out a card next to it that gives you control over it, you take that space from them. So the game is a lot of trying to box out your opponent, and if they have a lot of spaces they can play onto, cutting those out by playing a card more recently into the space there. And so, yeah, so you create your own deck, you collect cards in-game by going to different towns and playing against different people, or, like in the real world, paying lots of money. But when it's fake Gil in a board game, I'm far more willing to spend money. Be like, oh, I want that 1 card. That 1 card costs as much as buying 20 different cards. Give me the 1 card, please.
It's because you don't need Gil to eat in a video game.
That is fair. That is fair. So I find this game very compelling, and I like the fact that built into the game are all these little mini game side quests and adventures you can go on. In video games, characters are always completely helpless until you come along. And there are people who are just like, I lost my Queen's Blood card to that child. Beat him up for me. And you're like, yeah. Oh, you mean at Queen's Blood. Okay. So, no, I've been really enjoying it. And I would love if they had come out with just an app, like a standalone app of this or something, because I find it compelling enough. I think that some people argue that you can basically break this game where you can make unbeatable decks once you've gotten far enough into the video game. And so maybe with a little more refinement, it could be really good just kind of on its own.
It's good to know that such a side quest, I mean, it could have been a complete throwaway, but the fact that there is some meat to this little thing, I've heard lots of folks talking about it and how engaging it is and how they'd rather just play this than some of the main quests in the game. And that's a lot. Even if it does break when you get to higher levels, I think that's fine.
Right. Or that's what I've read, at least. I'm not that good at the game yet, or I haven't gotten far enough. I probably have to play more of this main storyline to be able to unlock new places to get cards and stuff, but it's nice. It's a fun side journey, and it's one that I'll play against people again and again, not for any more reward, but just because I do find this minigame to be that rewarding, actually. So, so that was my eye catcher. As we mentioned, Wendy is out, unfortunately, because she is not feeling well today. I have no idea what her eye catcher would have been, but we'll just pretend that it is also Queen's Blood, because...
Yes.
Yeah.
She would have just independently have chosen this as well, and the same screenshots, pretty much the same points you just made.
Yeah, exactly. So let's move on to some more contributors here, and then we'll be back with our top 10 list.
Hi, this is Rich Saunders, and welcome to Co-op Gestalt, a place to talk about cooperative games, cooperative game mechanisms, and sometimes solo games. Today we're going to talk about a game which is a standalone and an expansion called Eon's End: The Descent. This is the 9th or 10th expansion in this Eon's End realm of games, But I think if you're ever interested in looking at these games, this is probably the one to look at. For those of you who don't know what Aeon's End is, it's a cooperative deck builder game where players play mages working against the Nemesis. Now, I really do like the Aeon's End system, but one of the things I don't love about it is the variable turn order. Variable turn order is when the players intermix when the Nemesis goes and when the players goes very randomly. So if you have very bad luck, you could have the Nemesis go 3 to 4 times in a row. However, one of the things that Aeon's End does in the new Descent is it adds a module called the Friends and Foes. The Friends and Foes gives you new ways to win, new ways to lose, but it also mitigates the variable turn order problem by having more cards with a friend and foe in the variable turn order deck. So if you are interested in the Aeon's End game, or if you have been in the past but have been a little wary about it, I'd say this would be the place to jump off of. And if you do find yourself interested in the Aeon's End Descent, I strongly recommend the playmat. The playmat is a bit big. It's very big. But what's great about it is it does what I really want in a playmat. It tells me where to put stuff, right? That's one of the things I love about the turn order the mats for these, is that they make you show, hey, this is where everything goes. So if you find yourself interested in the Aeon's End Descent, I also recommend the player mat. Anyway, have a great day, and look for us on the web at coopgestalt.com. I'm Rich Saunders.
This is a segment where we take a look at a board game based on an IP, and I tell you if the IP and the mechanisms match. Today we're looking at Yellowstone.
The game ends when the conflict deck runs out. If there are any conflicts at the Dutton House, which is here in the center, then you would lose the game. If there are no conflicts here, when the conflict deck runs out, then you win the game. Very simple. On a turn, you're going to draw 2 skill cards. You're going to roll the conflict dice. At the beginning of the game, you're going to roll just the 2 white dice. If you've gone through the skill deck once, then you would start rolling the red one, which kind of speeds the game up. If you roll a yellow, you're going to draw another skill card. And if you draw an east or west, you're going to put another conflict card out. West is on this side, so this will scoot down, and a new conflict will come out. On your turn, you can do one of 3 things. You could move your character to a location with a conflict, and then you would attempt to defeat the conflict. The conflict will take 7 grit cards, 3 wits, and 6 luck. The second action you can do is you can go to a location and you can perform it. So this one says choose a bunkhouse card, play its ability, and discard it. This one says draw a skill card, then give a skill card from your hand to another player, or draw 4 skill cards. If there's a conflict on it, I cannot activate it. So that's the second possible action. The third possible action is I could move and activate my abilities.
So this is a lighter cooperative game, so you don't expect it to be like right into the characters. You're going to have the stills, they're going to bring the families in. You got a little bit of story going on about visiting different locations and trying to, this guy's a dirtbag in the show and here he is causing problems again. That's kind of in here, and I think it really works. The game itself is pretty darn solid. I really like this little cooperative game, and I find myself pulling it out and just kind of playing it solo and going through it and having a blast with it. When I saw this on the Walmart shelf, I did not expect what I got in this box, and I find that it's a lot of fun. The IP is on it enough that I think that it works fine. I think if you're a fan of Yellowstone, you'll be a fan of this game. It is a cooperative game, know that going into it, but I really do adore this one, and it's kind of a hidden gem for me.
All right. Well, I was not expecting that game out of that box, that Yellowstone game box, actually.
It's a nice wooden box. It looked pretty slick.
Yeah. And then I saw the game itself, and I thought, I'm not really jealous of too many games that Purge Reviews plays there. Folks, we got a top 10 list today, and as we do have our Game Found currently running, we thought that it would be quite topical. Actually, this was Wendy's suggestion, I believe, or was it yours, Eric?
It was not mine. This came from one of you two.
Yeah, this was Wendy's suggestion. She's not here to do it, so we'll read off her choices, and she can justify herself. She's in the live chat. So our topic today is the top 10 rejected Game Found stretch goals for the Dice Tower. So as we always do here with the top 10 list, in the chat, go ahead and type in what your choice would be, and we'll go through and pick the best one as the number 1. So I'll start things off here with the number 10 rejected stretch goal for our GameFound campaign. And this one was that the Dice Tower will finally take the road trip to Essen. It'll be a short 17-day drive. We'll somehow turn the van into a submersible, and it'll work out. So
Pontoons are easy to make.
that's true. I see no downsides to this, Eric.
Nothing but net.
Also, if you hear lawnmowers and hedge trimmers going on, there is a veritable cacophony occurring outside. So
Happy Monday.
happy Monday, everybody! All right, so that was the number 10 pick here. Let's see what Wendy's number 9 was. Yes, the Dice Tower would produce a series of board game exercise videos. How to deadlift Gloomhaven, do some Carcassonne curls. Help me out here, Eric, because I'm running out of terms.
Kicking those games that you don't want as far away from your house as possible.
Oh, I like that.
Carting entire bricks worth of games to and from conventions, up and down stairs with those big board game backpacks. Yeah. We got a plan.
The Shazen shot put. Yeah, stuff like that.
Metal dice. Throw.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Iridia is kind of the new. Iridia is the new Gloomhaven. As in, do you remember, Eric, when Gloomhaven first came out? I remember seeing it on a store shelf at one point, and I thought, "That's it. That's the biggest we can go." I don't think boxes can get bigger.
They can. It's possible.
They can, and they did. All right, Eric, round us out here to the number 8.
My number 8 is sort of riffing off of the road trip idea. People complain that it takes too long to get their promos shipped from the GameFound campaign, so I thought we'd just load them all up in the Dice Tower van and go on a big old road trip. Just hand deliver all the promos, sort of like an ice cream truck. We'd play some music, you'd hear, and everyone run out with a little bowl, and you'd drop the promos in the bowl, and they'd run away. I think it would take us about a year and a half, and we'd have to figure out how to get them. But with your pontoons, we could probably get them to Europe. It would be all we do for a year and a half.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, it would only take a few months to get the U.S. done, and then by the time we crossed the ocean, we would have died. So, yeah, our commitment would have been finished. Well, good. I was thinking, so for the number 7, I thought, well, what if we were able to just bring on a new staff member, right? We'd introduce a little character that I would like to call Two Hat Tommy. Tom would never wear a single hat in a video for an entire year if we hit this stretch goal.
And you just give the other hat to Two Hat Tommy?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we make it some sort of like internet poll, internet vote thing. Tom loves those types of things. Bodie McBoatface, is just a sign of the times, really.
What could go wrong with an online poll?
Exactly. All right, well, so there he goes. That's Two Hat Tommy. Let's see what Wendy's got here. A little concerned. We've got the Library Shelf Relay Race live stream.
Ooh, exciting. Yes. Someone might get crushed.
You said the word might. That makes it worthwhile. If you have ever helped us out at one of the conventions, we have a great amount of people who not only volunteer at our convention, but also people who unofficially just kind of help us load the trucks up and everything. And if you've moved these shelves around, you know that 2,300 board games weighs quite a lot. So,
yes,
you've taken part in the unofficial Library Shelf Relay Races before.
And with some extra betting or something like that, we could take wagers. Yeah, I think we have an exciting game going on here.
Make it like a camel up type situation.
Which, go number 17, go shelf 17. Yeah. I like
Numbers 5 landed at space, stack it on top.
Okay, so my number 5 is that I will lull you to sleep by reading rule books. For example, everyone, close your eyes. Rule 2.51. Goods and factory goods markers are pieces that the players buy and sell to make money. Each marker represents one load of merchandise that can be bought from one culture and sold to another. The marker shows the ID number of the culture that sells it, a low price, its cost, and a higher price, the payoff you get for selling it to another culture. There'd be a whole series of them. You could just pick the rule book that will lull you to bed. It's like the call map, but for board games.
Advanced Civilization. That's my pick.
There we go.
All right. Well, I like this, Eric. I like what you've done with the place. Let's see. The number 4 here. I'm glad that you can see this, Eric, because I think that as great of a job as you do hosting the Dice Tower Awards, the number 4 stretch goal that was rejected, unfortunately, would be to bring in celebrity hosts for the Dice Tower Awards.
You're saying you want me to get slapped? That
No. Think of the views. Think of the internet infamy that you could have.
Think of the likes and subscribes.
All right. Well, anyway, that's the number 4. There's celebrity guests at the Dice Tower Awards. Wendy's last pick here. I remember this one here. This is that we would host our own Nathan's hot dog eating contest. Eric, how many of these bad boys do you think you could get down your gullet?
1.5.
1.5. I'm proud.
I'm out.
David in the chat said, get my rule book out of your mouth.
Speaking of which, if you do have a suggestion for a rejected stretch goal, I haven't seen many go by yet. Now's your chance to get those in.
That's true.
I've never understood the hot dog eating contests. I think it's just a little too extreme for eating. I want to savor. I would love to just show up to one of these contests and they're like, ready, set, go, and I actually just eat it and enjoy it. Like, hey, free hot dog. This
Where's
is good,
the relish?
guys.
You guys
and they're
are
all just like, ah, rah, 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 dipping it in water. Ah, rah, rah. I'm just, this isn't bad. May I have a second, please? Yeah.
Would it be rude to ask for more?
Could I perhaps have a second hot dog? Okay, so my suggestion requires a little bit of maneuvering of equipment, but I'm saying that what we need to do is puppet live plays. It would look a little something like this.
Oh my gosh.
Hi, I'm Chris Yee, and today we're playing, what would we be playing? We're playing Habitats, and we have to move this piece, except the problem is I don't know how to hold a piece with this hand. You'd be shoving pieces. I can't pick up this.
Oh no, my glasses! I lost them.
Well, this is why it was
forever.
rejected.
Yeah, what games would that work for? Nothing that you could be required to hold cards?
No.
Or
I mean, maybe if you had like magnets on the hand and you could drag things around. I think you'd just have to be able to push. You'd have to maybe what is Onitama? You could probably play Onitama with puppets and just shove pieces in directions and then just like slide the cards around. I think if we could make that happen, we can do this. You know, this is how we ended up with musical episodes on the podcast, is we joked about it and then we were forced to do it. So now we might be forced to do it. This idea is in the ether now, and we're going to have to make it happen.
certainly not Wendy, but I have been looking for an excuse to buy a puppet. So, I think that we could have it if only this goal hadn't been rejected. Darn what this universe has come to.
It's good that the camera can't see the puppet that's on the floor because he does not look like he's in good shape. Because his eyes are part of the glasses. now he's just like, ah. Yeah, so
that's true.
it's pretty gruesome down there. You know, you don't want to see it.
All right. Well, I think the pick here that I'm going to choose for the number one, because I've got this pulled up here. It's just actually a little bit of a riff off of what we've already discussed, and that is sorry, I can't quite find it. Where did it go? People are just mentioning the different exercises, the scythe squats. Oh yeah, I didn't notice this one earlier. The number one rejected stretch goal from the Dice Tower campaign would be to acquire Asmodee.
Well,
I think it's about time we have this conversation, right? I think that we could turn things around for them. You know, what with their whole only being valued at $4.6 billion, was it? Or
it would need a slight increase over previous years. It would be a bit of a stretch, but hey, you could put it on there. We will make an offer to purchase Asmodee.
Yeah, no, I mean,
what
in
would
fact,
we do with it?
What would we do with it?
It would be easier to get review copies at that point, I guess.
That's true. Would you want to be CEO, COO, CIO?
CPO, the chief puppet officer.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I'd be in charge of the puppet live plays.
Yeah, the puppet line at Asmodee would blow up once the Dice Tower acquires them. All right, folks. Well, there you go. That has been our top 10 list. If you enjoy what we do, of course, go ahead and support us on the Game Found. But let's jump into some more contributors before we wrap up today's episode.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, we are Ryan and Bethany.
From Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
All right, today we're talking about Shipwrights of the North Sea Redux. All right, so this is from Renegade Game Studios and Garfield Games. If you are familiar with Shipwrights of the North Sea, this is not that game. It might sound like that game, but it is not that game. This is Shipwrights of the North Sea Redux. Kind of a... taking the thematic elements, some of the scoring elements, taking those out, getting rid of everything else, and then remaking the games, putting this stuff back in. So it is not a remake, it's not a reprint, it's a completely overhauled new game with the same kind of structure and theming as the previous Shipwrights of the North Sea.
I like that you just get so many cards in this game. It's nice because you get a lot of opportunities to see what you want to do, but you also don't get to keep cards from round to round. So you really have to pivot and be willing to get rid of things in order to set yourself up better for next round. But if you see something, you're like, shoot, I couldn't do anything with that, I guarantee you're going to get something very similar in the next rounds when you play this game. So I just really liked all of this influx of cards.
Yeah, we're obviously Vikings, right? One of the main things we want to do
We are Vikings, obviously. We're not plain Vikings. We are
Whenever I
Vikings.
braid my beard, I look like a scary Viking. It's awesome. But it also hurts. I'm not very good at it. So, as Vikings in this game, one of the things we want to build is these boats. But the boats cost a ton of resources, and you need a lot of workers to work on them. So what you can do is you kind of set them aside. Say, I'm going to keep on working on this. I'm going to set it aside for now. I want to build it eventually, but I don't have it all together yet. So it's the one kind of card that you can kind of hold back, which is really nice.
Yeah. This is probably the lightest of the game I've ever played. So
West Kingdom, North Sea,
so
South
if you want to
Tigris.
introduce somebody to the iconography of that system, this is a great way to start that.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. Lots and lots of card play, lots of cool interactions with your cards as you're going throughout the game, and it's all simultaneous, so it's lightning fast.
Everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you want to hear more from us, you can find us on YouTube. We are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. Until then, this is Ryan. I'm Bethany, hoping you have a happy, healthy breakfast.
Bye everybody.
Guys.
Happy breakfast, everyone. Today I'm here to talk to you about Corridor Pac-Man. This is the brand new version which allows you to play classic Pac-Man gameplay or a new special Pac-Man mode. Well, you're using these Pac-Man pieces in either mode and, well, let's jump into what I think of it. Now, first of all, if you've not played Corridor, you are effectively on your turn either moving or normally placing a wall down to block a little section of the board off. You're trying to get from your side to the middle on your side of the board across to the opponent's side fastest. And, well, with one movement on a turn, up, down, left, right, or placing a block, you are venturing across. Now, you can't technically block someone else in completely, but you can certainly make them backtrack, etc. In the Pac-Man spin, well, you are playing as Pac-Man versus 4 ghosts. That can be up to 4 players controlling the ghosts, or still just 1v1. Pac-Man, in this case, no one's placing any walls, they're pre-placed, and you're just trying to eat the power pills. Unfortunately, I found that it's very easy to, at the end of the game, have 1 power pill left to go as Pac-Man and come into a real stalemate, where your movement is just trying to slowly move around the ghosts, but there's so many of them that you can't quite do it. I much prefer the classic Corridor gameplay with this really cool aesthetic look of the Pac-Man piece versus a ghost, and sort of this nice black board with the blue striped walls. I really like that. I think it's a nice look, and the gameplay of that original is almost chess-like as you're going like back and forward, trying to work out where they're going to block you next and how you can make them go back on themselves, and really spend a lot of time getting out of the walls that you've placed. Anyway, until next time, enjoy the rest of your breakfast.
What we do here is go back.
All right, the last segment today, Eric, is our old school game. And so one that actually we had both recently played. You said that you had played this not too long ago, and I had played this game for the first time live on the channel actually just a month ago, I think it was.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, this is the Sid Saxon classic of Acquire. Eric, how would you describe this game briefly for anyone who's not familiar with it?
Well, Acquire is a stock game that is, I think, in all of its editions about owning stock in a hotel. You have a grid that represents the size and strength of the particular hotel chains. All of these grid tiles are numbered, like 1A, 2B, stuff like that. And you have a hand of them, and every turn you're going to play one of these tiles, which either starts or grows one of the existing hotel chains. When you start a new cluster, it gets one of these little towers on them that says, this is the such and such, the Saxon chain of hotels. And then you can make that one bigger. You can cause them to combine. And you are also, after playing a tile, purchasing and selling stock. You are buying the stock in these various hotel chains, which is based on the current size of that chain and how much board presence it has. But then you're going to make it bigger, and others are going to make it bigger. And then when it merges with someone else, you want it to get absorbed by someone, because then you get a big payout, and you get paid for your shares. You get points, you get money. You also get to translate those shares into other things, and maybe have a nice controlling interest in the new, larger hotel. This continues until the board becomes so untenable you can't add more things to it. It basically becomes all 1 or all 2 or 3 hotel chains, and then you just cash everybody else out and see who has the most money. It is a very straightforward game. You notice it says it's from 1964. This game has been around for a while. It's had tons of editions, all of which are pretty solid. I don't know of any bad editions of Acquire. If you find any editions of Acquire, it's going to be a solid game, and they've generally kept the gameplay pretty standard. I think the most recent edition, probably the one you played, Chris, from Renegade Games, that they've been, reissuing the various Avalon Hill titles, adds, I think, maybe a slight rule tweak, but it's been pretty much the same rules since the 60s. Solid game, and some nice production in the new edition.
Yeah, I think, too, that they've kept the classic rules in there, and then there's variants that you can play with, which I think is neat. I think what we played was the 60th anniversary edition, and that one is the first one that we saw that picture of that had the poker chips and stuff in it. That is the first time that has not come with paper money, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
As, kind of a classic, 60s type of a thing there. But it's fun because it's had so many different editions, and they all tend to have pretty good components. I think there's one edition that maybe comes with a flat board instead of a kind of a locking in grid.
Right.
And I would have a hard time playing with that, honestly, because stuff is going to move around. Stuff is going to, you don't want to bump, and it really matters.
Yes.
For example, if Tom were to slam his hat down on the table in the middle of the play and kind of, explode the board a little bit, you can reset things with the number and the letter gridding, right? But you don't want to have to be doing that constantly. So even the 3M bookshelf edition of the game, which is a print from the early 70s or late 60s, I think, that one came with a grid that had like recessed squares that you put all the plastic tiles into. And so that's one that I bought off of like the the Facebook Marketplace.
Okay.
So I've owned Acquire for a few years now, and I had never played it until just a month ago. So I finally can stop pretending to be a board gamer. Stop being a poser, if you will. No, I'm very happy to have finally played this game because I think it's good. I think it holds up extremely well. There's the luck of the draw of the tiles. Sometimes you want to, like, this would be a perfect time to merge the orange and the purple hotels there, because once you build a block connecting them, that takeover happens, and it can be fairly hostile. But you don't necessarily have the control of it because it's depending on the tiles. But you do have a hand of 6 tiles, so you can kind of hold on to things for when you know it's going to be a good moment, right?
Right. Yeah, especially the ones that are going to join 2 groupings, and you want to make sure you time that right, because either you want to be the larger or smaller, and often it's advantageous to be the smaller group that gets absorbed because it's an infusion of cash into your system that you can then use to make bigger moves later on. It's very easy to run out of money if you just hold on to shares of the largest hotel chain. Yeah, you're going to get a payout at the end, but you need to be agile enough to do stuff in the mid-game, and so you want to be in control of what merges. So yeah, I always have a couple of, like, this one's going to merge, this one's going to join 2 together, and this one's going to join 2 together, and then these 3 tiles I can do stuff with for now. And so you do have a little bit of control. The luck of the draw is strong, but you've got choices, which is pretty cool. Yeah, there's a reason why this has continued to essentially be in print pretty constantly since the 1960s.
And I think that's the thing too, is that you have choices even out of your turn sequence, which I find to be, people talk about this game as like light years ahead in terms of game design, and I respect that. I definitely see what people mean by that, because I've invested a bunch in a smaller hotel. It gets absorbed out of my turn sequence, but I get to choose what I want to do with those shares. Yeah. Do I sell them off, right, for that immediate influx of money, like you said, or I can gamble. I can sell off some of them, hold on to some of them, and try to start up that hotel chain again in the future. Yeah. And because I've held on to shares of it, I am ahead of. Oh, what was that?
You have a head start. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think that giving you those types of interesting choices, even like out of your turn sequence, so to speak, is kind of what makes this game stand out for me. I think it's great. It's one that I would probably sooner go to other games. Like, I love Airlines Europe, which is a bit of a stock game as well. A lot of the Cube Rails games and stuff have similar shareholding systems like this. But in terms of a game that feels ahead of its time, this is up there for me.
It's still in my collection. I've got the Avalon Hill from the early 2000s, which was, I think, maybe 1999, which was one of the coveted versions until this recent reprinting from Renegade, which is pretty solid as well. But for a while, that was the prime one to get. I still have it on my shelf. Haven't pulled it out in a while, and I probably should.
That was like the slightly bigger box of it, right?
Yes. Yeah, speaking of Gloomhaven size boxes, it was a big one. Not quite Gloomhaven size, but it's a big box.
It's funny because, and I'll tell you this, I remember seeing that box and thinking, that's really big. Like, that's a huge box for a board game, right? And of course, it's got all the plastic accoutrements and stuff in there. But that was the edition that we had in the Dice Tower library here for many, many years, right? Until the Renegade one came out. And so when we got the 60th anniversary one in with the poker chips and stuff, Tom said, okay, well, let's switch it out. This is probably the nicest printing that it's gotten. So he puts that one in, and he takes out the old one, and I saw that box, and I thought, it's not as big as I remember. And I think that's more of an indictment of where we've come to, people joking about Iridia-sized boxes and whatnot. And it's weird to look at a game that I used to consider gigantic and say, not that big.
Wendy jumped in on the chat asking, 3M like the Post-it Notes company? Yes, 3M like the Post-it Notes company. They had a line of board games at one point to show off their printing capabilities, and Acquire was one of them.
Oh, and boy howdy, let's see, 3M Acquire. Let me see if I can.
I think they made a lot. I don't know if it's necessarily as like expensive collectible as one might think. You still see copies floating around.
Yeah,
that's not
you
bad.
Do. Yeah, so this is the one that I got right on the Facebook Marketplace. So this is what we own, is the one from 3M, and it's kind of funny to sit there and they're like, oh yeah, this was showing off their printing capabilities.
Sure.
But, it's true. It was, right? That's a look. That is definitely a look. Yeah, this is the 1966 edition of the game. They did a whole line of games, actually. I remember Asdrubal did a... Whoa, we're diving into Wikipedia now.
Here we go. Look at that.
Acquire, Breakthrough, Feudal, Twixt. Yes, this is the one I was thinking of. Asdrubal, retro board gamer, did a whole segment on Twixt and how he felt like it still held up. And so you... Whoo!
Oh, wow, look at that. That's 3M bookshelf right there.
Yeah, baby! Woo! So, yeah, the idea of it was that you were trying to connect from one side of the board to the other. I've never played this one. I've only seen this one explained, right? But it's just a straight-up abstract game where you're trying to connect from one side to the other, and you build a tower, and then you build a connection to that tower off of where you already have previous towers. And so you're just trying to cut off your opponent, but you're also trying to make moves and stuff forward. So it's a solid abstract game from Alex Randolph, and that was also in this line here. And you can see that it's got, look at that.
They're like slipcase boxes too. They were designed to go on the bookshelf, like many gamers store their games today. They were pioneers.
Which I think personally is a major justification to store your games vertically, standing up.
It's tradition.
It's tradition.
It's a noble tradition.
It's what 3M would have wanted.
I ask myself that every day. What would 3M do?
All right. Well, there you go. So that's our little look back there at the old school game of Acquire. And truly an old school game on this one.
It is truly an old school, yeah.
All right. Well, Eric, thank you again for joining us here. And thank you, everyone watching at home, including our beloved Wendy. May she get plenty of rest and continue to guard those pillows.
Yeah, someone's taking that one.
Oh, no. Look out.
Not that one, the other one.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have a bed with like 40 throw pillows on it, Eric?
I mean, just a bed for the throw pillows? No.
No. Okay. No. We do not have that either. Oh. So very few pillows to guard, thankfully.
Good.
Wendy's got it easy. Let me tell you that.
You could just cluster them. I guess if you put them all on one bed, it makes it pretty easy to guard them.
That's true. But then once you have a pillow thief break in, they're all in the same spot, right? So maybe you should disperse them around the house. Hide some in your attic.
Yeah.
Continue
Under the
to
bed.
watch Board Game Breakfast for plenty of throw pillow strategic advices.
Get all your pillow hiding tips here.
Folks, remember we've got the top 100 games of all time going live at 2 o'clock this afternoon. So, a few hours from now. Eric, you, Julie, and Tom have the podcast going up tomorrow. Is that right?
Tomorrow morning, you bet. I got to go edit.
Oh, yes. I will leave you to go do that. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us today for breakfast. My name's Chris Yee.
I'm Eric Summerer.
And continue to have a great day. We'll see you at the top 100.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower, We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.